Welcome, everyone. My name is Lindsay Tallman, and I am the program director at Construction Careers Foundation. And just a brief overview of what Construction Careers Foundation is. We are a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to educating the emerging workforce about the value and all of the different construction careers that are out there. And so we do that in a couple of different ways, including, offering different hands-on experiences for young people, for middle school and high school, and also educating folks about the careers by offering this Blueprints to the Trades Speaker Series. So tonight we have some great guests joining us to talk a little bit about their work and the roles that they have in the industry and answer some questions that are prepared. But before we get into that, I do want to also introduce our partner in the Blueprints to the Trades Speaker Series, which is Apprenticeship Minnesota. So I will turn it over to Naomi to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Naomi Cowan. I use they and them pronouns and I work with the Minnesota Department of Labor and Industries Office of Apprenticeship. That is kind of a mouthful, and if you want to know what all of that means, then I recommend you go back in time and look at some of the recordings that are located on the Construction Careers Foundation's website. There is a great Registered Apprenticeship 101 session, and then where you can learn more about what registered apprenticeship is. But I assume that if you're here right now, you already know what apprenticeship is and you are excited to get started. You want to learn how to get in. I won't take too much of everybody's time, but sometimes entering a registered apprenticeship program can be one of the most difficult parts. There are two major buckets of how you get into an apprenticeship program. One is you're going to apply right with the training center with the program, and then they will help place you with the contractor. And then the others is it means that you are going to find that employment with yourself. So apprenticeship is always circled around this earn. You're earning while you're learning. Employment is a key part. And so these two folks here today are going to help teach you how to get that the earn part of the apprenticeship model.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'll turn it over to Wally and Matt to introduce yourselves. So if you could please share your name, where you work, what you do, and a brief overview about your organization or company.
All right. Thanks, Lindsay. Evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope to answer any questions you may have and give you a little more information regarding our apprenticeship program and how you get in, kind of what's required, and the different, you know, hurdles you have to jump through to kind of get in a little bit. But anyway, I'm Wally Kirchhoff, Southern Minnesota Regional Coordinator for the Carpenters Training Institute. I cover our three Southern Minnesota training centers. So we have two in the Twin Cities area, the Twin Cities campus, which I'm at right now at 740 Olive Street, our 1295 North Hunting Valley Road, LJ Shoston campus, which is where we teach the pile drivers and the millwrights when they're in school. And then we have a campus down in Rochester as well, where we have carpenters and roofers down in that campus. With that, I will shoot it over to Matt.
Thanks, Wally. I'm Matt Wohlers, operations manager for Braxton and Sons, and we are a subcontractor that specializes in carpentry labor. And we do work, we're signatory to the Carpenters Union, and we do work for general contractors that don't want to do it themselves, so they hire us, right? So we work for McGuff, Ryan Companies, Griner, Adolphson Peterson, Watson Forsberg, and many others. I hope that one I have forgotten doesn't look at this recording and give me a hard time. So, but yeah, we mostly hire carpenters. We hire a few operators too, but we're operating in the Twin Cities area and Rochester and Duluth.
All right, thank you for the introductions. Before we get started with Q&A, I just want to share a housekeeping item with our audience members. As we're going through Q&A, if you have a question yourself, you can please use the chat feature. And when you're typing in your message, make sure that in the to section, it is selected on everyone. There's a host and panelist section or selection and then an everyone selection. So for everyone to be able to see the question, please do select everyone and type in your question in the chat box. All right, so we'll get going. The first couple of questions are for Wally, but Matt, please chime in if you have something else to add. Wally, can you briefly explain your apprenticeship program and how work and school are balanced?
Sure, would love to. Bear in mind that the answers that I give to these questions to refer to our apprenticeship program, right? Every program is going to be slightly different. The electricians will be a little bit different, the operators, plumbers, etc. But so all of these are relative to the carpenters program. Work and school are balanced. When you come in, you will actually start working with your contractor first out in the field, and then you'll start school about 3 months, 2 to 3 months after you started working for your contractor. You'll come to school 4 times a year, so about once every quarter for the carpentry program. So that's 4 times a year for 4 years, so 16 total classes, or at 40 hours a crack, 640 total class hours, and then 7,000 on the job learning hours. So that's the time you're working on site with your contractor. So that's kind of how work and school are balanced.
I'll chime in quick, Wally.
Mhm.
So, as the contractor or employer, this is known. It's no big deal. These classes are scheduled. We know when it's coming. Um, it's a part of the program and getting through the schooling, and it's very important to show up at school and not be unemployable as if you're kicked out of the apprenticeship. So follow their rules, and you'll be fine. Um, but it's one of those things that we all know about as employers. So it's a rite of passage in a way. And then I'll say, remind your foreman all the way right up to the Friday before your next week of class, right? Because they'll forget. I used to be one. So that's it.
All right. So, Wally, how does someone get into your program? And what is a letter of intent? This whole webinar is really based on what a letter of intent is. So
Sure.
share a little bit more about that and how to get
Yeah,
in.
and that's actually how people get in, is with a letter of intent. So that's when somebody like Matt, you give them a call, right? You call up Braxton, you say, "Hey, are you guys looking to hire?" And they say, "Well, let's see, what do you have to offer?" Right? And you go in there and you talk to them, and if they decide that they want to give you an offer, they will write a letter and send it over to the apprenticeship program called a letter of intent. So meaning they intend to hire you, which means you're coming into the union, and then you will come in, fill out the apprenticeship paperwork, and then you'll fill out the union paperwork as well. And then you would start working with that contractor, depending on what other requirements they have within the next few days, most likely.
All right. So for either of you, so why do apprentices need to get hired with a contractor before getting classroom training?
Sure. We are a nonprofit ERISA governed fund, which means that you have to be contributing to the fund in order to be able to be trained with that money. Okay, if that makes any sense to anybody, you can ask more questions later. Um, but so when they come in, they get the intent to hire. They start working on the job. They're contributing to that fund through the collective bargaining agreement that your contractor pays into for the training program. I think we're all putting in about 86 cents per hour right now, thanks to the contractor's contribution for putting that into our education funds that pays for my salary, our instructor's salary, the equipment, and all the other things that go along with it.
I'll say too, it Wally gave the right answer there, but me as a contractor, I would say you can't flood the school's resources with people that might not be serious too. So if they can get through with a contractor and hired and through their onboarding process, that helps quite a bit. I think focus the resources on those that really want to be there.
So, Wally, can you explain or Wally or Matt, can you explain what a signatory contractor is and how does someone find them? This is definitely a question that comes up quite a bit when we're talking with high school students and their guidance counselors or parents and guardians. So I would love to learn more as well.
For
Um,
sure.
yep.
We always say it's the best kept secret that nobody knows how to get in unless you know somebody that's actually in the trade, right? And that's where the majority of our people come from because they know where to go and how to look for it. Um, a signatory contractor is a contractor that signed a collective bargaining agreement with the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters. And Matt can maybe elaborate on that a little bit. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
to
So
find them, I'll go ahead, Matt.
yeah. So we, I, I want to say every 3 years, Wally, but it's getting all jumbled up now, right? So
It's typically every three, yeah.
yeah. So every 3 years we have bargaining or negotiations. It's where the contractors sit on one side of the table and labor sits on the other side of the table, and we figure out how do we do raises for the next 3 years. We come to some sort of agreement. It's not just about the money; it's also about language in the collective bargaining agreement. So, many years ago, the overtime got brought up. I would say, after 40, more than 40 years ago, probably, Wally, right? Like a long time ago. But that kind
Yeah.
of came from collective bargaining agreements where the contractors and the labor sat in a room and figured out, hey, this is what we want, this is what we want, and then have an agreement. So it's about what's discussed in the collective bargaining agreement is about the money, but it's also about the language and how we all operate.
Sure. And I would say the best way to get the overall picture of all of the signatory contractors throughout the entire United States and Canada, because that's what the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners covers, um, is to go to the North Country Carpenter website. Um, Go on there, and there's a Our Partners tab up on top. If you click on that, and then it'll go down to say signatory contractors. You click on that, it'll come up with a drop down menu of all the states and I think Canada as well. And you click on wherever area you're looking for. And just in the Twin Cities metro area, I know there's 800 or 900 signatory contractors that'll pop up on there. So that's the best way. They also have a what we call a hot jobs board um, on the North Country Carpenter website as well, where members typically go on there to see who's looking to hire right now. And I'm not sure how else Matt would market if they're looking for. I know they use the regular, like Indeed and all that stuff too. Maybe LinkedIn. I don't know which ones you guys use, but there's some other ways that they are looking to hire people as well.
Okay, so Matt, let's say they come across Braxton,
Mhm.
and what's the best way to get a hold of you? Are they emailing? Are they calling? Are they texting?
Yeah, I would say emailing is good. And my tip to anybody like sending out mass communications trying to just land a job, because I know that happens and that's fine, is a short paragraph description of who you are, where you've been, why you want to be a carpenter in this case, and keep it short and brief. And I rarely see that from people, and it could include some of your skills, but just here's what I know and why I want to work as a carpenter and why I would be a great choice, and then your name and where you can be located or contacted. I think that goes a really long way. It's rare that I see that. Usually, it's a passive, um, message or an Indeed reply saying, "Here's my resume." But if you're going to take the time to go through, I think a real short paragraph, which you could copy and paste and send to a lot of different contractors, right? I think that would go a long way.
Perfect. Thank you. So the next question, I think you covered it a bit. Wally, you talked about your apprenticeship program and how to get into it.
Mhm.
Matt, great. Thanks for explaining how to get a hold of you and what's the best way to communicate with a contractor. Is there anything else what does the hiring process usually look like? Like if I'm right out of high school or an adult wanting to change careers, can you kind of step through like exactly what that might look like? How much time should someone be willing to commit to with something like this, applying for an apprenticeship and then seeking employment?
Sure. Um, so for us, when you come and reach out to us, and then so let's say I read a short paragraph. I'm like, okay, this Jack person is great. Um, I'll call Jack up and um, do a on the phone interview, going over a few points. I'll kind of decide if I want to hire Jack within that 10 or 15-minute interview, asking questions, typical interview questions. But what I'm really looking for is work history, and then general tone of their attitude in a conversation. And if I ask a couple challenging questions, how do they respond? Um, do they introvert or do they roll with it? Rolling with it's definitely a good thing. So that first 10 or 15 minutes, I decide, okay, I'm going to move to the next level. When I do that, I say, okay, I'm gonna bring you in for an in-person appointment, and I go through. If this Jack's going to be an apprentice, I'll go through all the steps as if Jack's coming in as a brand new apprentice, and it's a monologue that I'll tell them about the apprenticeship and about the school that they have to go to and how that works, but also what they have to do with me to get onboarded through Braxton before all of that starts. So it would come in for in-person interview. Then there'd be a physical test that we do. Most other companies do that as well, um, and that's at Minnesota Occupational Health. You get through that, and then you can be employed. And you go sign up at the apprenticeship, and you sign up at the union on a Wednesday. So it's a week and a half to 2.5 week process once the interviewer has decided, I think this person could work.
Great.
And then school starts. I think, Wally, is it about 3 months after they sign up, or you can probably.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months, whatever scheduling's available, whatever the next one has room in it.
So they'll work for 2 or 3 months until their first scheduled class.
Great. Okay. Thank you. I'm learning as well, so I appreciate this. All right, Matt, okay, as a contractor, what are you looking for in applicants? So I know, sorry, you just talked about um, the general tone, but when they come in for that in-person interview, like how should someone show up and what are you looking for?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, the obvious things, right? Like if there's too much cologne or there's too much body odor, like in the office, that really amplifies. Um, but that's just superficial, really. I mean, there's a guy that came in one time wearing Crocs and Zubas, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to hire this guy. He's still with us, and he's probably one of our best carpenters. So I can't sit and say one person that looks one way or dresses one way or acts one way. It's across the board. So I usually give people a pretty good shot, pretty good chance. But I am looking for, how do they handle the interview? How do they answer tough questions about their past in person, eye to eye? Um, why do they want to be a carpenter? I really want to get a good answer to that, because it's not an easy job. It can pay well and it can be a good living for somebody, but it's not an easy job. So I don't want somebody to go out there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then disappear. My crews don't want that. I don't want it. So I'm looking for some durability, mentally, would be probably one of the things I'm mostly looking for.
So Wally, I always like to tell this story, and for everybody on the call too, I'll share. One summer when we were at the Carpenters Training Institute, I think it was one of your instructors that shared a story about someone who walked in the door, wanted to be an apprentice, and I think they showed up to their interview dressed like a carpenter, tool belt on, and they were just very impressed by that person. So would you also agree that that really someone who does that might really stand out, you know? I mean, you're dressing for the part, right? So I was,
Yeah, yeah. If you're in coming in ready to work, right? I know that probably puts a good impression on Matt.
I
Um,
subscribe to that too. Yes.
probably not gonna need your tools today, but you can put them back in the truck.
Right.
But thanks for bringing them with, right?
Yep.
Um, no, that's a great thing. I think the number one thing is confidence. Are you a team player? Can you get along with people? Right? Those are some big things I think that we really try to put forward here at CTI. Is those are the things we look for when we have grant programs and things like that come in. Those are the things that we try and push on these people is that you have to have the confidence. You have to be willing to keep going because, as Matt said, this is not an easy job. You have to have a little, it takes a special person to do this for a career and to get up when it's cold outside or you got 6 inches of snow going out here and you have to be there at, 4:30 in the morning for a delivery or whatever. Um, but those people, you can kind of start to tell pretty early when you tell them to start calling contractors and you give them a list of 800 contractors to start calling down to try and find a job, and they give up after five or six, and they're like, this isn't, I'm not doing this." You can kind of tell that way, and the ability to, be teachable. I think that's a big one as well. Yeah, you might know something from working non-union or something, but you don't know it all, right? Those are the ones that come in good. Yeah, I've had 10 years experience building homes. I ran my own company, blah, blah, blah. They come in and then they know everything. And sometimes it doesn't work out the greatest. And then the person that comes in doesn't even know how to read a tape measure yet, ends up being a better fit than that person that had 10 years of experience prior, if that makes sense.
excuse me. Yeah, absolutely. And that actually is a really great segue into the next question. So, Matt or Wally, what do you recommend for people that don't have a long resume or don't have any construction experience? We get this question a lot too, right? Someone right out of high school, or again, someone changing career paths and is like, I want to go from a psychologist to a carpenter. Like, what do you, what's your recommendation to those people?
Um, One thing that I think is pretty easy to do, we all have an awful lot of access to information these days. So, say you don't know much about wood framing and you want to come to Braxton and you want to get hired. I would say look at some YouTube videos, look at some things. Well, first identify that, okay, Braxton is a contractor that I applied to and this is what they do. Figure that out first because there's a lot of contractors do a lot of different specialty things. So figuring out exactly what it is that you're applying for will help you. But then before you go in or before you talk to somebody, know what this contractor does mostly and just do, 20-25 minutes of research, hour, watch some videos. Like you could pull up videos on wood framing and have at least an understanding enough to have a conversation with somebody who's been doing it for 20 years. Um, but know who you're applying to and what they do. I think that gives you an edge. And then having having a good history, and if you don't have a good history, have an answer for it that you stand behind and be ready for that question to get asked. Um, that'll help you a lot. If you're going to be you're a psychologist now, you want to be a carpenter, right? Why? Why? And have that answer ready.
Yeah, and just to tag on to that a little bit too, we do have grant programs throughout the year. Sometimes one grant program a year, sometimes three, maybe four, in different areas. We have some in the Twin Cities, we have some in Rochester, Duluth, um, all the different areas. And what we do is like that is like a 4 or 5 week program. You come in, we teach you how to read the tape. We teach you how to measure things. We teach you how to tell the difference between a steel stud and a wood stud. What's a top plate? What's a bottom plate? Top track, bottom track. How to cut a piece of plywood. How to, cut a piece of sheetrock. How to put screws in drywall. How to hammer a nail. All that stuff. So you get a basic understanding of what we do, the lingo that we use a little bit, the things that are expected when you get hired by a union contractor, and kind of just what to expect when you join this and um, take this on as a career. So it gives you some more expectations as to what to be looking for when you move on to the program. And it also gives our contractors a little like, hey, these guys stuck this out for 5 weeks and they know a little bit about what we do. So they might have a little better chance of getting hired that way. So we have that. And then there's community organizations such as yourself, Lindsay, um, and other ones like Building Strong Communities and that kind of stuff that take young adults and kind of give them exposure to the Trade Summit Academy, bunch of different things out there. So, um, yeah, check out our website and that kind of stuff, and or give me a call if you're looking to know when our next program starts up for that.
Now you said grad programs?
Grant
Grant.
programs.
Grant. And that
Yes.
would include, do you still do the 5 week or so training in the spring? Or do you have like another pre-apprenticeship training opportunity?
It depends. We're still checking out our 2026 ones, so we're not certain where those are going to end yet. But we should know here by the beginning of the year, I believe.
Okay.
That's
Check the
Naomi. Maybe she has a little insight into that.
okay. Check the website, contact Wally. There you go. All right. Just a few more questions here. Matt or Wally, when are the best times to look for a job?
You want me to take it, Wally, or do you want
That's all yours. You know better than me. And it
to?
could vary from year to year, right?
So when I said we were talking about specialty contractors earlier, right? So if you're SM Henches and Sons, who does road construction, right? They're going to be looking for carpenters a lot more in April to November, quite a bit. Um, Not so much in January. We work year round doing framing and finished carpentry, so there's never really a good time. I guess the answer to that is when there's a lot of work. That's when a good time to apply is. Um, but I would say construction is very cyclical, and you can get yourself into a bad headspace pretty quick if you start calling or emailing or messaging or applying or whatever it is, some contractors, and it could just be that the whole space is in a funk. It's slow. Um, so you as a new entrant into the construction industry need to maybe find that out. Like, okay, like right now, for instance, we're in a little bit of a funk in general. So the hiring's not as hot as it's been in the past. So that doesn't mean that you're not wanted in 4 months from now, or 3 months, or 6 months from now. That could very well be it. So kind of having a pulse on the general economy and construction would help. Um, I think it's always a good time to apply and to feel it out. But don't give up if nobody's hiring, because at some point that will change. And if you follow up, that would be the best for you. You're going to get more of a hit rate, if you will. So follow up in 2 weeks if you don't get a response, or even 2 months. And another thing that I should say is some companies may find it easier just not to respond to inquiries about employment, just legally, for legal reasons, right? Just because that's what would be recommended. If you don't know or you don't need to hire anybody, you just don't respond. But if you do get a response saying, hey, we're looking for help in April, note that and then follow up.
Well, and I mean, we always hear too that there's a lot of people kind of on their way out of the industry, right? They're retiring. So I would think, now and into the next, 5, 10 years, like it's going to be job outlook, I think will be really good. Would you agree?
I agree. I agree with that. Yes. The macroeconomic picture needs to straighten out a little bit, and then that aligns with um, the exiting baby boomers, right? Absolutely. But a lot of the baby boomers are not the carpenter out there laying plywood. right? They're in the office or they're, you know, maybe doing doors and hardware, right? That's a really intricate, it can be an intricate job that they've taken years to master. So that new person coming in isn't necessarily going to directly replace the person in the office or the person that's doing the door and hardware. But yes, over time, I think 5 to 10 years, it's a great industry to look into and to be curious about. Um, and honestly, I don't think AI could have too much effect on the carpenter and what they do. It's more in the the white collar areas is where that's going to affect most, and that may be where we get some future applicants where you know that insurance agent or whoever says, I'm going to be a carpenter. So there's a lot of good opportunity in the construction industry. Yes.
Great.
Well, that's funny you mentioned that. We have had a range of people come in through our apprenticeship program, ranging from 17 to 64 years old, everywhere from nurses and architects, engineers, to people coming off the railroad, all kinds of people doing second careers, and and people right out of high school. So um, it's available to anyway. You just got to want it,
Yeah. Fascinating. That's
right?
exciting though, I bet.
Yeah.
All right. Two more questions. So, Matt, what happens when a construction job ends and someone needs to look for more work?
Well, for us, we like to structure it that there's another one ready to go. And I would say most companies prefer to do it that way. Um, Unless they're from out of town or out of state and they're here for, a year or two project. But most companies would rather just take all of their good employees and say, look, here's the next job. It's in this city now, and everybody move over there. That's how it works for us. We like to try to keep work, keep the backlog full so that we can constantly pick up a couple people here and there. It's been a little bit trickier the last couple of years, but ideally, it's a constant flow of work, and people are always working. Now, if work does slow down, then a handful of individuals could be laid off, and then they have a 1 week of where they skip unemployment, and then the second week it would start if you apply with the state and they approve it. I usually send a letter to the individuals that get laid off to tell them to sign up for the out of work list at the union, the carpenters union. That's how that works. You want to make sure that you do that because that's technically a part of your agreement that you're letting Minnesota unemployment know that you're on the list, the out of work list. Um, and then they can reach out to other firms that do the type of work you've been doing, or they can have the opportunity to learn a different style of carpentry, maybe do some footings or do some steel studs or sheetrock or whatever it might be, which Wally constantly preaches at our JTC meetings that get a sprinkle of everything, get a year or two experience at different areas of carpentry, and you'll be much better off in the future.
Great. Thank you. All right. The last question is for Wally. What resources do programs like yours have to support people in their job search? So, Matt, thanks for sharing the out of work list. That sounds like a great resource. Any other resources that you have?
Yeah, we call it the ready to work list now, just so everyone's aware of that. And yes, that is a requirement if you're in the apprenticeship program, and I believe through the state of Minnesota, if you're on collecting unemployment, to be searching for a job, right? So what happens there is you call them and put your name on the list, and then contractors who are looking for carpenters at that time, call the ready to work number, and they will find carpenters with the skills that they're looking for on there, and then they go out on the list who was ever first, second, third, fourth, and then people get calls off of that. And if they don't respond, they go to the next person on the list, and then they work their way down until they find somebody to fill that spot. So that's one way. Another way is the hot jobs board I had mentioned earlier on the North Country Carpenter website. Another way is through business reps through the union. You can call them, see if they know who's hiring at the time. They usually have a better bead on what the industry looks like at the time. So maybe wood framing is hot right now, so Braxton is looking, or maybe concrete's hot right now out at the airport, doing something like that. Or maybe it's steel studs right now that's going hot. So they have a general idea of what industry is kind of really busy at the time and what contractors are involved in that, so they could kind of start their job search there and go that way. So they're just a couple examples of different things that we offer to our members to try and help them find a job. And of course, they're more than welcome to just call down the list of contractors like anybody else, see who's hiring. So that's the cool thing about being a carpenter, that you can solicit your own work. So you find somebody that's looking to hire you, you can go work for them.
And even though if someone might be out of work at the moment, they can still continue their classes at the training center. Is that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the classes still continue no matter whether you're with a different contractor or you're not working at the time. Yes, your classes will still, you'll still be here every quarter. And not only that, it doesn't cost you anything, right, to come to school, right? You're not paying for this. We all pay for that with our education contributions. And you also get a stipend for coming to class. So if you come to class every day with all your tools and ready to go and on time and that kind of stuff, you'll get $350 a week just for attending class. So it takes a little bit of that sting off from not getting the paycheck while working with your contractor. So,
Yeah, still get a paycheck, go to class, get those skills, become more employable as you continue to make your calls. Yes.
mhm,
Awesome.
exactly.
Awesome. Awesome.
Nailed it.
All right. Well, that's all the questions that I have. I will turn it over to our audience members. So if you have a question, please do drop it in the chat and address the question to everyone. We'll just kind of hang out for a couple of seconds here and see if anything pops up. Um, but yeah, unless everyone has all the information they need. You both did a great job.
I was going to say we must have done a really good job explaining everything.
You really did. Yes, yes. And these questions do come up quite a bit. So I was really excited to have you all here to address them. But yeah. And so, like Wally did mention in the beginning, all of these answers are very specific to the Carpenters Training Institute. Um, I will say, if you have any other questions, if carpentry isn't it and you want to pursue another career option in the construction industry, Naomi's website, the Apprenticeship Minnesota website, is a really great resource to go to start um, sifting through and kind of searching for the different training centers, the union training centers. And there's all this contact information on the pages when they're accepting applications, right? So that's just a really great resource. But
And do you mind if I add something, Lindsay?
yeah, go ahead.
So, as you all had mentioned, yes, a lot of what Wally and Matt have talked about have been specific to the Carpenters or to Braxton, but I did hear a lot of really great industry knowledge that I do want people to know is applicable everywhere. I mean, any program that has intent to hire is going to have a list of signatory contractors for you to reach out to. I can't promise you're going to get into every job if you show up in Crocs, but a lot of the other things that Matt had said about having a good attitude, being willing to learn, really wanting it, that's going to apply pretty much across the board. So even if you don't end up wanting to pursue carpentry, and honestly, even pursuing the trades, there was a lot of really great knowledge about the job search in general in this webinar. So thank you both.
Yeah. All right. Well, if there's no questions, I think Mary has a slide to share with the audience members here. So the slide shows who our speakers are, phone numbers, and emails if you would like to contact them to learn more or explore carpentry or working at Braxton. So please take a picture of that. I'll also send out the slides and a follow-up email to all of our people who registered for this webinar as well. And then the final slide is a few QR codes that go to each of the respective websites that we mentioned today. So we've got the Carpenters Training Institute, Braxton Construction, and Apprenticeship Minnesota. So please use these resources. And Matt and Wally, we're here for you tonight to share all of this valuable information. Lean on them. I know there's a lot of people out there that are interested in carpentry careers. So please, yeah, we're here for you. Um, use any of these websites to learn more, reach out. I can't express that enough. Matt and Wally, thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing again all of your knowledge. Um, Audience members, thank you. And we will see you back in the spring. This is the end of our fall speaker series. We'll come back in the spring with some more dates and event information after the holidays. So thank you all again. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Appreciate it.